What are we gonna call this? Is it
The Awkward Fantasy Show.
Sure, that's actually not bad.
Right? Yeah.
So this is gonna be hopefully weekly content on fantasy football. I actually like the idea of doing it after the Thursday night game, going into the weekend games. I don't know why that, even though that doesn't make sense, we should do it before the Thursday game. I actually kind of like it
Right.
because we could break down the Thursday night game that just happened.
Sounds good.
And do you want to start off with the Thursday night game?
I'm very disappointed. I mean, what we wait 5-6 months for football, and that's the game that we were given. Low scoring, 10-3.
This is a game between two, based on last season, two high-powered offenses
Right.
with at least two decent QBs.
Which surprisingly this time around, both defenses looked really good.
Right. Even Green Bay, which you think is usually mediocre.
Which now I think Green Bay could possibly be a streaming option in the future.
Yeah.
How well they played today.
And the Bears defense played like the Bears defense. Like they kept Aaron Rodgers to 10 points.
I mean, we knew Aaron Rodgers was going to have rust. I mean, I called it in the Garage League chat with Eddie. For those of you that don't know, Eddie is our commissioner for the Garage League. Shout out to all my Garage League peeps.
Me and Steven are currently in 3 leagues together. We're in the Garage League, which we probably both agree would be our most important league. Then we're in this league called the 69 League, which we wish it was as competitive or as important as the Garage League. But our commissioner, at times, doesn't allow it to be. And then we're in pretty much a throwaway league. But money's money at the end of the day. And if we were to win, that'd be great. If we don't, it's fine. So Eddie's in 2 of those leagues, and he commissions both of them, I believe.
He commissions the Garage League, and he co-commissions the Man Cave League.
Oh, okay. So we're not going to go into too much detail about our leagues, but we'll probably reference them when we talk about numbers and matchups and stuff. For example, in one of the leagues today, I went against Devontae Adams, and he had an underwhelming under 10 points. So I feel like anybody who had anybody in this game tonight was somewhat disappointed. Like maybe if someone had Allen Robinson.
I had Allen Robinson sitting on my bench.
I had MVS sitting on my bench, and he had a much better game than I thought he would. So
yeah. It looks like he's the number 2 receiver in Green Bay.
I would say so too. I didn't even see Allison on the field. Is he hurt?
As much, I don't know. That's a great question. I don't think so. I was expecting more more Allison, but
and the elephant in the room is Mitchell T had a very disappointing performance. I had him starting in 2 of my leagues. I was expecting at least 15 points minimum, with maybe reaching about 20 points. I didn't think he was going to blow up completely, but I thought he was going to be a decent starter. Halfway through this game, I was trying to trade for other QBs. I was like, especially I'm starting him in a league where there's 2 other guys that have 3 QBs on the roster. So I was a little disappointed. I first went to the waiver wire and realized nobody was there because everybody in this league has to carry 42 QBs apparently, and it's not even a 2 QB league. And so that was a little frustrating.
So just to put that in perspective, though, you did decide to punt on the QB position.
In that league,
not expecting teams to pick up 2 or 3 QBs in the draft. So
because I figured I could probably land a Jared Goff or something in the 11th round or something, and then eventually people just kept on getting people were taking 2 QBs before the 10th round.
Yeah.
And then I just got to the point where I'm just going to continue punting on it, and hopefully Mitchell T lives up to expectations, which he didn't. Maybe against a different team he will this year, but I'm already thinking about streaming.
You got to stream at that point. What about Jimmy Graham?
He looked good, but
he was targeted a lot more than I thought he would be.
Me too. Are you nervous that he would be touchdown dependent though?
He's definitely touchdown dependent. But I mean, well, I mean they were only in the red zone once,
Right.
and so, but I mean he was the first go to on that play. So
There's not a lot of good options at tight end, so if he's on your waiver wire, I say you go for it.
at this point, you might as well.
In other news, Antonio Brown's going to miss at least the first game. How do you feel about that?
You know, low key, and for those that know me, high key, I'm very excited.
You're
Um,
a Chiefs fan.
Chiefs fan. This is our year. And whenever the Raiders look dysfunctional, it brings a smile to my face. So, I mean, over a fine that was probably chump change to him, right?
Right. Uh, the thing is, I play Antonio Brown in one of my leagues week 1, so I'm ecstatic about it.
Oh,
If I
same here.
so if let's just say Antonio Brown were to come back in week 2 or week 3, for the people who have Antonio Brown, I say you keep him.
Oh yeah, you hold him.
But I wouldn't be surprised if you're just annoyed by it and you think you get a quality starter and you feel like you need someone week 1.
So this is my thing when drafting. Um, I think you got to kind of look at obviously the stats, but also current news, what's going on. Is
Hmm.
that player, drama? Is it something that you're going to have to worry about later um, in the season? You know,
Right. And
like,
I drafted Zeke knowing that I was going to have to deal with some issues.
but you're Zeke's second manager, so
Right.
this is the fourth year, I think. 4 years,
4 years with Zeke.
4 straight years that Brian has gone Zeke number one
And
round.
the league is now a keeper league, so I'm going on 5 years, hopefully.
Hopefully, nothing happens. He might
Right.
hey, he might retire at the end of the season. Who knows?
That's fine. If he retires as my only running back, I would love it because I would hate to see him go anywhere else to anybody else in our league. So if he just retired at Brian's starting running back, I'm cool with it.
That works for me.
Uh,
What about Julio Jones? So,
that's an interesting one too because he is considering holding out for the first game, correct?
so yeah, so the circulation, the rumors going around, he's looking. I guess he said that he might play, he might not play. Um, it's
That's
not,
interesting that's like you wouldn't have thought you heard more rumblings about that during training camp.
but I don't think he actually said I'm gonna hold out.
Right.
It was
That's
just,
why.
it was just more of like, so are you ready for Sunday? And pretty much like, I hope so.
Do they have a 10 a.m. game that day on Sunday?
Let me check.
I'm assuming they do. Atlanta usually does, unless they play someone on the West Coast. They play Minnesota, so it could be, but it's in Atlanta, right?
It is in Atlanta, yes.
So most likely it's a 10 a.m. game.
Let's see. This is what happens when you don't have an intern. We have,
Right.
we have to search our own.
It's a 10 a.m. It's actually in Minnesota, but it's a 10 a.m. game.
Oh, okay, so it is a 10 a.m. game.
So that's a tough decision to make. Roughly what 8 or 9 o'clock in the morning,
Yeah,
if you're gonna play them or not.
and I hope all of you out there check the news in the morning, check the news in general. Make sure you're starting active players. There's nothing worse than going up against somebody who has somebody that's inactive. Um, it's an easy W, but it just takes the fun out of
That's
you
a
know
pet peeve.
the back and forth. You know,
No one should have easy wins in fantasy football.
and
Like even if your team sucks, at least plug and chug everybody.
seriously, yeah,
But
do
if you're
something.
gonna sit people who are gonna put up a big goose egg just because they're not there, at least all it takes is set your alarm every Sunday at 9 a.m. Obviously, this is Western time or Pacific time. Set it at 9 a.m. Check the injury reports. Make sure everyone's there is going to have a number next to their name, and then you can go back to sleep if you want to skip watching the games. But check at 9 a.m. and then check again at probably 12:45 for the 1 o'clock games,
It's easy,
right?
very easy. So
And
Melvin Gordon going to play this season?
I think so. Out of all the controversy going with all the other players, Melvin Gordon's probably the most likely not to play, but I think he does play.
So you think he goes up to week 10 holdout?
I want to say he gets traded before then.
Gets straight. You think somebody wants to? Well, I guess we have to wait
I
and see the
I
injury.
want to I want to see if there's a big time injury. I think that's when it happens.
Right.
But if for whatever reason most teams stay relatively healthy, and I think it has to be a contender because I don't see if like what's to say Miami Kenyon Drake gets hurt. I don't see them throwing dollars at the Chargers to get Gordon for just one season. But I could see like let's say I don't know the Pittsburgh Steelers and Connor gets hurt and they don't have trust in Samuels or maybe New England has 5 running backs. So I don't know if they would do it. But if one of these contenders were to have an injury, I think they might throw a one-season rental on Melvin Gordon.
It's possible. I'm interested to see what happens there. So for all of you who drafted Melvin Gordon, good luck with your sanity.
Mm-hmm.
There's nothing worse than, and then all of those that drafted Le'Veon Bell last year know firsthand. And I hope some of you guys aren't drafted Le'Veon Bell last year and then Melvin Gordon this year, because
The thing about Le'Veon last year is people kind of expected him to play. Like
right. Well,
holding out for a whole season was kind of a brand new thing.
he kept saying that he was going to play, he was going to show up, never showed up.
So let's put it like this: if you drafted Melvin Gordon, I would just assume he's not going to play.
Yeah.
Just assume it. And if he does, then great. You take him off your bench, you put him in your flex or your starting running back position, and you're good. And that's a great midseason. That's like a waiver wire pickup midseason, right? And he's probably the best pickup you could think of, right? But if he doesn't, don't assume he's going to play. Like I drafted Zeke this year with the intention that, hey, if he doesn't play, then I need to start drafting like it's my first round pick in the second round and start making my team like that instead of just assuming that, oh, I got a starting running back in place.
What did you think about David Montgomery tonight?
It was really disappointing because it seemed like, you know what, it's funny because it was the very first play of the game and I was looking at the team and I was like, there's a decent chance David Montgomery's not going to play a lot.
So he had 6 carries for 18 yards, and then all 6 carries were to the left side.
Yeah, I was like,
That's via Next Gen Stats.
I don't know. I feel like he's still going to have, but you know what I was having flashbacks of last year I drafted Jordan Howard and he didn't do anything really. He might have had a few games where he got over 10 to 15 points, but it was the Cohen show, and today was somewhat the Cohen show as well.
Let me
And
see if I can find their snap totals.
I think David Montgomery only got like 6 carries. I would say Mike Davis. I don't know. It's the first game, so maybe you don't want to make heavy decisions now. But I would say roughly it's the Mike Davis and Cohen show with Montgomery, I think, being a slow transition into there.
Let's see here. So let's see.
Because Cohen led in receptions, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
Mike Davis might have led in rushes. And then Montgomery kind of was in the middle. I think he had 1 reception.
Yeah.
He had a pretty decent one. Like, it got him over 5 points fantasy-wise. And then how did you feel about Aaron Jones?
So at first I was a little worried. Obviously the Bears are a good defense in general. But, I mean, you can clearly see that Aaron Jones is a better runner out of the two.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the eye test shows it. I think even his his play today showed it. He had 13 carries for 39 yards, which, I mean, obviously isn't that good, but let's see what Jamal Williams had here. These next-gen stats are pretty cool if you guys ever get a chance to look at them.
I like that time of the podcast or the content show or whatever this is.
I wish we had an intern.
Mm-hmm. We just like, hey, so can you give us the blah blah while we talk, and then they look up the stats and tell us about 40 seconds later.
Seriously. So Aaron Jones had 13 carries for 39 yards. Jamal Williams had 8 carries for 4 yards. So
Aaron Jones. Okay, so a lot of people are big believers in Aaron Jones. I just always felt like Green Bay, especially with the new head coach, wants to run the ball more. I get it.
Oh, wait, hold on.
But it's the Aaron Rodgers show. And I don't think that you take the ball out of Aaron Rodgers' hands enough for Aaron Jones to have round 3-ish numbers. Because his ADP was around the 3rd round, 2nd round.
Mm-hmm.
So
I correct myself here.
Okay.
Correct myself because I am wrong.
But with the Williams thing?
Right, with the Williams thing. Let me give you the accurate box score stats here. It's even worse than my mistake. He had 5 carries for no yards.
All right, well.
Receiving wise, though, he had 2 catches for 15 yards, which I don't think Aaron Jones. Oh, he caught 1 pass for no gain. So.
Well, the thing is, against the Bears defense, so I think for both teams, you can't look at week 1 as how the season's going to go.
Right.
But I've always just felt like Aaron Jones is more of an afterthought in an Aaron Rodgers offense.
But, I don't know, in the second half when they started running him and he had a couple good runs.
He did.
I think it really opens up your options, your play calling options, because you got to stop the run or defend the pass. You got to do both. It's not like you just stack the box. Obviously, they're not going to stack the box because it's Aaron Rodgers. So, I mean, we'll see how the season plays out.
All right, so before the weekend games, do you have any hot takes?
Hot takes. I think Antonio Brown does end up playing.
You think he does end up playing?
Mm-hmm.
I have a hot take. I'm not going to
play, but I don't know if he's going to play the whole game, but I think either they'll sit him the half and then because his suspension isn't official. So
I think Joe Flacco is going to be a top 10 quarterback this week.
That's a hot take.
It is a hot take. All right. So we out?
We're out.
All right.